Salut! We're going to talk about the comparative, it's superlatif. We're going to talk what is it, why are we going to use it, and how to use it. If you haven't seen the video about adjectives or adverbs or any verbs before, you might want to go backwards and see those. Okay, so let's take a look at examples in English so that we understand where we're coming from. So comparatives and superlatives exist in English, and basically we just add or est to it. So if we want to say, oh, he's a better swimmer, we had to say better, or he's a better singer, or she's taller, he's shorter, oh, she's chubbier. So we're so used to saying in it that we forget that the French won't do that when they're comparing two things. The superlative is going to compare them more than one thing because you have something that's the best out of that entire group. So one thing they do have in common is irregular. Notice how with good, better, and best, bad, worse, and worst. In French, we're going to see something similar to that. And so let's get started with talk about comparatives. What we're going to do is talk about how we form them. And we're going to show you a little bit about how we do that with adjectives, adverbs, verbs, and nouns, because it's pretty similar, but with nouns it's just a tiny bit different. What you need to memorize if you're running out of space is that you just want to say more, because they don't have it doesn't exist, just plus. So for example, you could say Chaboté est plus adorable que Shrek. Notice how because this is positive and it's more, we're going to pronounce the S on the end of plus, because he's more. Il est plus adorable. Now, don't have to say que Shrek, but oftentimes we want that so that we can say who he's more adorable than. So yes, Puss in Boots is more adorable than Shrek. It says chaboter, and this is an adverb, so it's going to either describe the verb or the adjective. So chaboter attaque plus rapidement que Donkey, which is l'un en français. But so he attacks more quickly than. Notice all I have to do is put something in this line to say he's more than, more something than. Similarly with the verb, except for there isn't really an adverb or an adjective to describe because he just does it more. So Donkey parle plus que Chaboté. So Donkey talks more than Puss in Boots. Plus que, there's nothing to put on a line or blank because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the verb. So we don't have to worry about something that goes on the blank. It says Chaboté attire plus de filles que Donkey. So he attracts more girls than Donkey. So this is the part where some students tend to get confused because in English we don't need more of girls than. We just say more girls than. But with a noun we need to remember to put the de there. So plus de. So when we have a noun with a comparative or superlative, we still want that de in front of the noun. Otherwise, all we have to remember is plus something than. All right, let's see what that would look like when we're saying something is less than. And this is similar in English because we have less something than. So I'm less thin than my family. So we would just say moins thin than. So moins mince que. So Shrek est moins agréable que Donkey. So he's less agreeable than Donkey. Shrek parle moins gentiment que Donkey. So he speaks less kindly than Donkey. En général, Shrek parle moins que Donkey. So in general, he speaks less than Donkey. Mais Donkey voit plus de bien dans le monde que Shrek. But Donkey sees more good, and here it's a noun. He sees more of good dans le monde, in the world, que Shrek, in the world. So again, we're still in comparative, so we've seen that there's no we have less than, but what happens when things are equal to each other? Then we're going to use as. So aussi or autant, both of those work in the same way. So Chaboté est aussi amusant que Donkey. So he's as amusing or funny as Donkey here, instead of than. Chaboté attaque aussi rapidement que Kitty Softpaws. So he attacks as quickly as, and notice how que here means as when we're using aussi or autant. So he attacks as quickly as Kitty Softpaws, comparing the verb. Kitty Softpaws dance autant que Chaboté, so she dances as much as. Chaboté porte autant de vêtements que Shrek. So he wears as much of clothes as Shrek. So when we're using égal égal, the que no longer means than, it means as. Interesting. So let's do a quick review. So when things are more, there is no we're going to use plus. We don't need that que an. So if we want to just say l'or est plus sportif, ça marche. Rowan est moins cher. It's less expensive for inferiority when we're talking about less than. As, the que now is going to mean as. So t'es aussi sympathique que Chantal. Je travaille autant qu'elle. I work as much as she. So those are comparatives. Now let's compare superlatives. These are the best, the easiest, the most. Notice the. So when we're talking about superlatives, we're going to use the. The only thing is, in French, there's not the est or the est. It has to be this one. So although in English we can say est, in French we're going to have to use the most, but as in the more. So they don't have exactly most in that same sense. So we're going to have similar structures as we have seen before. We're going to choose le, but now with an adjective we have to choose le or la, depending upon whether if that's masculine or feminine, and make that adjective agree. We could do the same thing if we're talking about like the fan, he has the hat the most handsome. Then we would use the noun combination, and it makes more sense when you read it, I think. Adverbs, you're just use the, plus or moins. Notice you don't have assez because it's nothing is equal. We're talking about superlative. It's either the greatest or the worst. And then that adverb. Same thing with nouns, except for, again, we need that de in front of a noun when we're talking about superlatives and comparatives. So the most of clothes, like she has the most of clothes. And verbs, similar here. You have your verb and then the most or the least, which is very simple. You don't need anything after it. So he swims the most. Done. So let's see a couple of those examples. With adjectives, le la, plus, moins, and then an adjective. So Chaboté est le plus adorable. He's the most adorable. So cute. And then here's that weird construction that will make more sense when you read it. So Chaboté habite avec la famille la plus bizarre. So he lives with the family the most bizarre. And if you've ever read the story of Chaboté, and not just that movie, you'll be like, I get you. Adverbs. Chaboté ne s'habille pas le moins élégamment. Wow. Again, we need that. The least elegantly. He does not dress himself the least elegantly. Chaboté ment le plus. He lies the most. Notice with the verb, we just need the most or the least. It's the most easy. Chaboté ne dit pas le moins de mensonges. So he doesn't say the least of lies. I know, double negatives here. But you're getting the gist of this now, right? It makes sense. So the irregulars that we're talking about with superlatives are similar with superlatives and comparatives. It's basically bon, which is good in English. With a comparative, it's going to become meilleur. So, for example, we've used this probably a lot when we're talking about ma meilleure amie, my best friend, or la meilleure cuisine que je n'ai jamais mangé. So we've used it a lot to compare things or make a superlative. And it's similar in English because good then turns to he's better and he's best. So those are also irregular. Bien is similar, except when we're talking about comparative and superlative, these two I think are the same, because when we're talking about somebody does something well and somebody else does something better and somebody is the best at it, so I guess it's similar in the sense of they're same. They start with an M, but a lot of my students tend to get these confused because they forget that even though what they're trying to say might be better, that there's two words of better and there's two words of best, one for an adverb and one for an adjective. So it can be a little confusing. So you got to think, okay, wait, is he better at something or is he better than some sort of descriptive? Like, is he better dressed? So we'll see a couple examples. I'll show you. And then mauvais can be wrong, bad, like poor, like he does poorly if you're using it as an adverb. And as an adverb, it's going to agree. And then if you want to say the worst, you have to say le ou la pire, but you can also say il est pire que, he's worse than. So those work. So let's take a look at a couple examples. So Shrek est meilleur que Prince Charmant. So he is just better than. There's that verb. He's just better than. Princess, oh wait, no, that's a comparative. Princess Fiona est la meilleure des princesses de Disney. She is the best of princesses of Disney. Notice we have to use la for her. Lord Farquaad était le pire. He was the worst. And again, this agrees with him who's male. Lord Farquaad était le plus mauvais. He was the most awful. So it basically means the same thing as the previous sentence, but so they're interchangeable. Shrek l'aime mieux que Lord Farquaad, qui veut impressionner Fiona. So Shrek loves her better than Lord Farquaad, who wanted to imprison her. So here, it's an adverb for better. Si le dragon attaque le mieux de toutes les personnes, so he attacked the best of all the characters. Le mieux, again, it's an action. That is, attack is an action, and that's what we're talking about. So we need the adverb. Okay, so I know that was a lot to take in, but let's do a quick review. When we are using a comparative or superlative, if we're talking about a noun, we need de. So il y a plus de blagues. There's more jokes. Don't make de plural because it already follows a quantifier. So plus de blagues. Notice it's not plus des blagues. Plus, moins, aussi, autant are used because there's no er, there's no est. So you can't be quicker or quickest. You have to be plus rapide. So le chat est plus mignon. He's not cuter, he's more cute than the donkey. Que can mean then or as when we're talking about aussi or autant que. With superlative adjectives, the adjective and the article will agree with the noun. That should be pretty simple since we've talked about agreement over and over again. And there are irregulars like mieux and meilleur for better and best, depending, or better, best, depending upon whether that thing you're trying to describe is an adjective or an adverb. So you just have to think, okay, am I comparing how well they're doing in action or how well they and have a quality to them? And then pire, of course, is the worst, which is new. If you have any questions, laisse-moi savoir. I hope that was helpful. Ciao!